The beginning of the film takes place in Berlin, during World War II. Führer Hitler is working with a behavior coach named Keppel. Hitler expresses his displeasure with the people's greeting to Keppel. He complains that, while the Nazi salute is out of style, people should at least raise their hands to their wrists to show respect. Then he tells how he has done everything a human can to destroy the foundations of the enemy, who has violated their soil. He is puzzled by Germans' existence, and finds it alarming that he is also present. In the following scene, he awakens on the ground in the middle of a forest. Looking up at the sky, he notices that the enemy planes have vanished, and wonders that they may have taken a rest. Suddenly, a ball bounces towards him, and comes to a stop just at his side. He stands up and walks past the bush towards a building. He is then approached by 3 young children, who express concerns as to his well-being. Hitler sees them, and believes they are the nation's future. He then asks them how to get to the street. At the same time, a reporter, Fabian, is filming the children with his camera. Hitler can be seen on the far right side of the screen. He takes up his army cap, and thinks to himself, "I should go to the Führer bunker." When Hitler walks down the street, he is surprised to see people riding monowheel bikes. He finds people filming him with their cameras, and expresses that, while the rubble has vanished, people have gone insane. Then he feels a modern car in his hand, and wonders if he went into a coma and missed the victory. He realizes he is not fully aware of his situation, and alerts himself to gather more information. Then he asks a man where the chancellery is, but the man instead asks for a picture. As people approach him and take photos in turn, he is disturbed by the flashes of the cameras. Puzzled by the strange events taking place around him, he concludes that something has gone wrong in the place. As Hitler walks away, he notices a woman on her phone, speaking in German. He approaches her, and asks about the current date, but she becomes terrified, and sprays his eyes. Hitler cries in pain as his eyes turn reddish, and his vision blurs. He stumbles and walks to a nearby newspaper shop. When he sees the date, October 3, 2014, written on the paper, he collapses to the ground. Kerner, the boss of a TV station, praises Mr. Christoph Sensenbrink for doing an excellent job, as the deputies head somewhere else. He proposes a better solution, but instead names another employee, Miss Katja Bellini, as managing director. Christoph is shocked and dissatisfied. As a result of this, he comes into his office, and pours out his anger on Fabian, a struggling filmmaker. Despite his best efforts to persuade his boss, Fabian is fired and thrown out by the guards. Sometime later, Hitler awakens at the newsstand, and inquires about the date with the shopkeeper. He confirms that the year is indeed 2014. A confused Hitler wonders if the shopkeeper has kidnapped him, and suspects that everything is a trick, arranged by the enemy's secret service. He threatens to kill the shopkeeper if he works for the enemy, but the shopkeeper instead gives him a chocolate bar. After much struggle, Hitler opens it and sniffs it. He declares it to be industrially pressed grain, and asks the shopkeeper if there is still a bread shortage. The shopkeeper, mistaking Hitler for an actor, asks if they are filming a documentary somewhere nearby. The shopkeeper then remarks that he resembles the Führer, to which Hitler responds that he is the Führer. Following that, Hitler notices a Turkish newspaper and inquires of the shopkeeper whether he has Stürmer or Panzerbar. According to the shopkeeper, he has more Turkish customers. Hitler is shocked by the presence of Turks in Berlin. He then starts to gather information from the newspaper. While reading it, he assumes that he did not win the war, and that Germany was left in the hands of unskilled women, with the charisma of a wet noodle. He also mourns the existence of Poland, and concludes that the war was a total mess. Meanwhile, Fabian sobs as he watches his soccer video reporting, and weeps over his firing. His mother comforts him, and asks him to pause the video, noticing Hitler in the background. Fabian is pleased by the discovery of a person who resembles Hitler. Back in the shop, the owner requests the Hitler to set aside the newspaper and stand outside. Hitler resents being forced to work. The shopkeeper suggests Hitler to clean his stinking clothes. Then he goes to a laundromat, and requests his uniform to be cleaned. Hitler asks if they have another uniform, because he is unable to walk away naked. Next, we see Hitler wearing jeans and a sweater, as he walks to the newsstand. Fabian, on the other hand, has tracked him down, and is waiting for him in the shop. When he first sees Hitler, he is amazed by his appearance. Fabian approaches Hitler, and asks for permission to film him, as he walks through modern Germany. Hitler is on board with the concept. Fabian borrows money and a car from his mother, and sets out on his journey with Hitler. The two end up in a hotel, where Hitler is amused by the television. He then decides to discuss politics, during Fabian's presentation. He goes around asking people about their political opinions. Following the interviews, he concludes that democracy had little influence on people during his absence. He examines people's unhappiness and suppressed anger, which reminds him of the 1930s, when people had similar views, but didn't have the term political disenchantment. People inform Hitler about the country's immigrant problem, encouraging Hitler to promote his theory that mixing races does not work. Later, Fabian questions Hitler about the emergence of his typical mustache. Hitler responds that he shaped his mustache to fit a gas mask. After a while, the two end up in a farm, where Hitler is bitten by a dog. He becomes enraged, and fires at the animal. Fabian scolds him, and takes the gun away from him. Fabian eventually runs out of money, as the tour carries on. But, he comes up with a solution, and convinces passers-by to have their sketches drawn by Hitler. Hitler creates sarcastic drawings that people find amusing and pay for. They continue their journey once they have collected enough money. Back in town, Fabian shows Christoph a video of Hitler. The video has received a large number of views, since Fabian posted it on the internet. Christoph is awed by the video's high number of views. He requests Hitler's name and phone number from Fabian. After meeting him, Christoph suspects Hitler is insane, and requests Fabian to remove him from the office. Before leaving, Hitler enters the director's office, and asks her to help him save Germany. Bellini, fascinated by the concept, questions about the plan. She quickly requests her assistant to prepare a proper TV format for broadcasting the Führer on Hitler's idea. Fabian then threatens Christoph to take Hitler away if he does not return his job. When Christoph learns of this, he hires him as a kitchen boy, and promises to promote him when a new editorial position becomes available. Hitler is later given a table in the TV studio. Christoph requests that Kromayer assist Hitler with computer use. Hitler remembers his days with computers, and considers the invention to be one of the greatest. Kromayer tries to sign Hitler up for mail, but discovers that his name has already been taken. Hitler grumbles about others using his name, and tells her to use New Reich's Chancellery, which he prefers. Christoph intends to put Hitler on stage, in a live comedy show called Whoa Dude. He is still irritated, because Bellini was promoted instead of him, and he intends to cause trouble for her. He intends to introduce racism into the debate, by making sarcastic jokes about Jews, and to fire Hitler. The show begins, and the host, Witzigmann, calls Hitler to the stage. The audience gossips about Hitler's appearance, but when Hitler looks at them, the hall falls silent. Hitler quickly breaks the silence, but does not read the lines as written. He explains that he was supposed to tell a joke about immigrants, but will not do so. He argues that television is a great human invention, but the shows that are broadcasted are nonsense. He sheds light on issues, such as poverty and unemployment, and predicts that the country's people are heading for the abyss, without realizing it. Hitler vows to fight the TV, not only until the abyss is broadcasted, but also until he succeeds in defeating them. Everyone applauds him for his brilliant idea. The host, Witzigmann, is envious of Hitler's popularity. Bellini requests that Christoph should broadcast Hitler in every show. Christoph is upset as a result of the failure of his plan. In the following scene, we see Hitler give interviews on a variety of TV shows, stating that his motivation is to restore Germany's greatness. His popularity skyrockets, and he meets with a number of people and party leaders. He begins to charm them all by sharing his ideas. Hitler and Fabian pay a visit to the NPD headquarters in Berlin one day. He calls for Ulf Bern, the federal chairman of the NPD, and asks him how far his cause has progressed. Hitler dismisses him, and claims that they have wasted enough time, and the movement is stunned for decades as a result of their words. When the cops and the district attorney, Da, arrive at the TV studio, Christoph becomes thrilled. They explain that they have come to file a charge of violating hate laws. Bellini then inquires as to what they are to do next. Christoph quickly announces that the Führer show may have to be cancelled. But the DA claims that they will be able to continue broadcasting. Bellini breathes a sigh of relief as Christoph fakes a smile. Following the departure of the DA, Kromayer hands over a letter to Christoph, stating the payment for the dog that Hitler had shot earlier in his journey. Christoph cheerfully accepts the letter, believing it to be a means of causing trouble. Following that, Hitler is subjected to a television interview, in which he is asked direct questions about his various roles in the war. Hitler responds that he wants to help people, but the interviewer tells him that all of his actions cannot be justified. He plays the video of Hitler shooting the dog. The audience is disturbed by the video. Hitler is furious and threatens him with doing the same to him. He goes on to say that he plans to turn their studio into a tank parking lot. Christoph feels better when he sees people's negative reactions. Bellini is fired as a result of the terrible interview, and Christoph is appointed as the new manager. Hitler then goes to Fabian's house and begins living with him. He laughs on the Destiny's Path and begins writing his second book. The book is soon to be released on the market. 3 months later, everyone gathers at the TV studio for a meeting to discuss the huge loss that the company has suffered. Christoph believes Witzigmann's show will get them back on track, but one of his employees informs him that he has resigned. Christoph becomes worried and irritated of the chosen employees for losing the show. One of the staff members suggests bringing Hitler back, which arouses Christoph's interest. He seeks out Hitler once more and offers Fabian $1 million to invest in the film that Fabian and Hitler are making, in exchange for allowing them to broadcast the film on their television. Hitler and Fabian arrive at Kromayer's home, where Kromayer's grandmother confidently identifies Hitler. She claims that Hitler gassed and killed all of the people. She calls him a criminal and orders him to leave. In the car, Hitler expresses his surprise that Kromayer is Jewish. He begins to make fun of Jews, calling them less than human. Fabian is unhappy with Hitler's actions and words. Back on set, Fabian asks Hitler to depict how he arrived at the location. He asks Hitler what happened before the ball came crashing down on him in the woods, but Hitler has no idea of it. Later that night, he comes out from the set, surrounded by thugs. They call him the reason for retaking Germany and slap him across the face. When Hitler opens his eyes, he is in a hospital in front of Bellini. Automatically, Fabian examines the footage from the video he shot about the boys in soccer. He examines it closely and discovers Hitler has risen from where he was lying. Fabian is shocked by what came before it. He rushes to the location and discovers a board stating the historical location of the Führer bunker. Fabian rushes to the hospital, but is unable to find Hitler. Bellini tells that he is on his way to the set. Fabian reveals that he is the real Adolf Hitler, but Bellini is doubtful. Fabian acts insane and tries to explain his theory in a crazy manner. The guards attempt to catch him, but he flees. Fabian then arrives on the set and points a gun at Hitler. When asked about his identity, Hitler says he never claimed to be anyone else. Fabian claims that Hitler is brainwashing people, to which Hitler responds that people elected a leader who openly shared his entire idea in 1933. With his gun, Fabian takes Hitler to the top of a building. He grabs Hitler and declares him a monster. In response, Hitler says that ordinary people elected an extraordinary man and handed over the fate of the country to him. People chose him, he says, because they share the same values in their hearts. Fabian, furious, shoots Hitler, causing him to fall down the building and onto the street. Soon after, Fabian hears Hitler's voice, who says that no German will be able to get rid of him. And Hitler, who had just been thrown down, reappears right behind it. Just then, Bellini orders a cut in the studio, and everyone applauds the shoot. It turned out to be a film shoot, with a random actor playing the role of Fabian. Hitler then asks everyone to remember their comrades, who were unable to join them. Kromayer is sobbing somewhere else, seeing Fabian through a hole in the mental ward. After the film's success, Hitler and Bellini are in high demand for autographs and interviews. People on the street seem fond of Hitler and greet him with respect as they pass by a car. Subscribe for more videos like this, enable notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for watching.